Hey YouTube, Mech here. Another battle Bryopsis video. I have already dosed the tank, so that part is done and taken care of. So I've been pondering my tank for a while now. I know I shouldn't be doing that, but I am. Oh, by the way, Starfish says hey. In trying to figure out how this Bryopsis has essentially taken over my tank. We'll watch Starfish for a little bit. And I think I have solved part of my problem. However, I have to resolve the solved. If that makes any sense at all. So I've been trying to figure out how this Bryopsis got ridiculous. Because it initially just started off as a small little plant right about here, right above where the Starfish is. And when I removed it, obviously I released some spores, and it got progressively a little worse, and a little worse, and to the point where it took over the tank. And of course I threw animals at it, I threw chemicals at it, I threw everything under the sun at it, just about. And it just progressively got worse and worse, to the point where you see it in the first video. I think I've solved what part of the cause of this is, and I think it has to do with my sump. So I don't have a very good light down here because my old light just shot craps, and I had to go and get a new one yesterday. So this is a little JBJ light. So my sump is not very bright, and not realizing that my light had been out, everything pretty much got nuked. So I bought some little ball of Kato, and so this is the refugium here. Let's see if I can get it good. Here we go. So there's the refugium. There's my sump, part of the sump. The other part's over on this side here. So it's not very big. The sump is not large by no means. Let's see if I can do better. Get in here without dropping the camera. So yeah, there's the protein skimmer right there, which is right there. So the sump is not very big by no means, and I think the problem is this sump design. Now this is from Life Reef. I don't know if you can see that right there, and so the system is very well built. It's got lots of features on it, lots of really good ideas implemented in it. Problem is, this is not inside there. So if you look at most sump refugium combos, they start on one side and end on the opposite side. So you get your water draining from your main tank down into the sump, right? Typically in that first chamber or in the second chamber, you've got your protein skimmer. Chamber after that is typically where your refugium is, and then in the last chamber, which is right next to the first chamber of mine, is your return line. That is the return line right there, those two knobs. One knob goes up back to the tank. The other knob, as you see, goes right into the refugium. So this refugium, and then the drain is that far PVC pipe that goes down. So it's basically in this little loop of sorts, and the loop never ends. The loop just loops back into itself. So I'm getting dirty water from the main tank over here. Some of that gets pulled into the skimmer, and it, as you see, the skimmer does a very good job. It's pulling out what it needs to pull out. However, there's a good section of water that never gets to the protein skimmer. It goes right over here to this pump. So this pump goes, most of the water goes back up into the main system. A small portion of that water goes over here to the refugium. I don't think the refugium is doing enough work as far as its biological filtration is concerned to keep this from getting algae. And the reason why I'm thinking this now is since I've been treating the tank with Vibrant. And I don't know if I showed it in other videos. I've lost track of them all now. The return line was covered 2/3 with bubble algae. Now the bubble algae is gone. The Vibrant has killed off the bubble algae. There's still a few remnants left, but it's dying off. But if you look, I got hair algae on there now. So I'm like, well, how's that possible? So I start really thinking about my setup design. And I think because the nutrients that are being pulled out and into the sump are not being completely filtered out properly, and it's just coming right back into the tank. So either A, I need to come up with a sump that will fit in my tank down here, or into the stand I should say. And that's the problem, is most of them, either I don't like the design of them. It's like a 2-chamber kind of thing like what I've got now, and I don't want a 2-chamber thing. I need at least 3 chambers, 3 good chambers. You know, the 3rd chamber can be the smallest chamber for the return line, but I really need that 2nd chamber for my refugium. I need that water to pass over the rock and through the Kato before it goes back into the main tank. I want that to try to settle in that refugium chamber, so the bacteria in the Kato has a chance to neutralize it before it's back into the main system. So I think that's where my problem lies. So, but yeah, either they won't, the sumps that I've looked at, either they won't fit properly, which has been the case for the most part. The dimensions are they're not there. You know, I can measure all day long and I can look all day long, but I'm not going to find one. If I do find one, it's just too small, or it just doesn't have the features that I want. Most likely it doesn't have the features I want. So that's kind of why I built, or had this built by Life Reef. And it's a great design. It's got great features. It's just the one feature that I wanted is not where I need it to be. So I think that's part of this tank's problem. So I suppose I probably need to break down and figure out how to build my own sump. I'm not a big DIYer, so this might be an interesting adventure if I decide to go that route. I've had this life reef system for about 3 years now, and I think once I got the Bryopsis, the bottom fell out of the tank. Not literally, but you know what I mean. So, and I don't know. I don't know what the solution is. This tank gives me headaches. I hate to say it, but this tank gives me headaches. And the reason why I went with, partly with what I went with, was because I apologize, I can't remember the gentleman's name. That's been 3 years ago. So initially, when I converted this from freshwater to saltwater, I had to use a lot of hang on the back kind of setup. The protein skimmer that I was using was not pulling anything out. I mean, I could let that thing run for 6 months and it was not pulling, it was not doing what this one's doing. It was not pulling any dark stuff out. And I, would try to set it and try to make it work, and it just wasn't pulling anything out. And then I had a hang on the back refugium, and that thing did an amazing job. That thing was rocking, and I had amazing growth, not only with the corals but with everything. Everything was just fantastic. Problem was, it was unsightly. The aesthetics were terrible. The light from the refugium at night would bleed into the tank, and just it was just too much for me. So I looked at overflow boxes and talked with many people, and everybody was like, don't ever do an overflow box, you will have a bigger problem, aka water on your floor. Life Reef swore to me that his would never overflow, and it hasn't. In 3 years I've never had a problem with it at all, ever. So that part I'm totally okay with. It's the sump. I'm convinced that the sump design is partly to blame for the Bryopsis issue. I could be completely wrong. I could be 100% wrong. I could be 200% wrong. But I firmly believe at this moment that this is why my Bryopsis is all over the place. So I don't know what you guys think, but those are my thoughts. I may have to, as much as I don't want to, scrap the sump. I'll keep the protein skimmer because it's doing an amazing job, but I may have to come up with my own build somehow. I don't have the tools or the space to do this. I live in a pretty small house, so I really don't have a lot of space between everything else that's in here. So we'll see. Also have to convince the wife that I can utilize some space until I can get it fixed and set up. So it is what it is. Just keep trudging forward with Vibrant, but I'm starting to believe now that my sump is partly to blame for my Bryopsis outbreak. It's not 100% to blame, but I think it's a big reason why it's spread as wide and I don't know what the word I'm looking for is right now, but I think that's the reason why the Bryopsis was the way it was. So there we go. I guess we'll see you in a couple days, and 3 days. Probably Tuesday would be the next video. Dose number 15. I'll keep debating on what I want to do with this sump, and right now I just don't have the funds for it to just go out and buy a new one. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't know. Maybe I can come up with a inexpensive one, or come up with a build of my own. I don't know. I just gotta find one that's gotta fit. Find something that's gonna fit down there. That's the big problem. So, alright. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. Yeah. Later.